All right, good evening and welcome to the 68th meeting of the 13th elected Town Council of Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Before we begin, we do have one item that we need to do before we move into the adoption of the agenda, and I'm assuming that's going to come through Finance and Admin. Number one on the agenda item.
Yeah. I have
All right,
nothing
floor.
around it.
Oh, it's pretty simple.
Yeah. Who were you pointing?
Yep. Floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. The Finance Administration and Policy Committee recommends we appoint Kathy as acting town clerk for this meeting.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Brumfield and the Finance and Admin Policy Committee that we appoint Kathy Eddy as our town clerk for this evening. Seconded by?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion? And our regular CAO is out of town this evening, so by legislation we have to have a town clerk, so that's the reason why we're appointing her temporarily. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contraminded? Passed. All right. So we have the agenda presented in front of us. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So done.
Okay, moved by Councillor Rumbold, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Okay, none being heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Passed. Delegations. We have two delegations this evening, correct? Okay, that have registered. And you have,
I don't have nothing written on it.
do you want to draw it up, pull it up? It came in this afternoon,
The new one?
Well, it
The
came
new one's
in-
not passed.
the delegation one, but you can give there's only a couple of changes to that, right?
Okay.
All right, so good evening. I'm going to pass the floor over to Councillor Rumbold. Welcome the delegations in a moment. But first there's a little item that she reads, basically just the ground rules for being a delegation. So, no pressure, but pressure.
I'm getting it. I think I'm getting it. Hayward may have it. Oh,
Do you
Bert's
have
got it.
Okay,
Here we
well,
go.
I'm going to switch the floor over to, she did that on purpose, eh?
I can pass it over to you.
No, thank you.
I'm passing the floor over to Councillor Pomeroy, so go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Policy statement, public council meeting delegations. In order to ensure an amicable and respectful environment for delegates to meet with the council, it is recommended that the public of Happy Valley Goose Bay notify the Chief Administrative Officer or their designate of their intention at least 24 hours prior to the meeting by providing their name, contact information, and brief synopsis of the issue or concern they wish to raise. The CAO shall present the information to the mayor and or council before the council meeting begins. The mayor and council retain the right to limit the number of delegates presenting during each council meeting. At the time the delegate is accepted to present to council, the delegate will be notified of a maximum 10-minute timeline to raise their concerns. After the presentation, the mayor and council members may ask questions or make comments of the information presented. In consideration for the length of council meetings, a delegate may request to bring forth their issue in writing. Such written presentations must include the name and contact information of the delegate and a brief synopsis of the issue or concern. The delegate accepts a 1-week response time to allow for the mayor and or council or the chief administrative officer to respond in writing. The 13th Council respects our constituents' right to present their views or concerns. In accordance with this policy, the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay operates a respectful workplace, and all presenters and members of the public are reminded that any abusive or threatening behavior towards town employees or council will be asked to vacate the council chambers.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. All right, so first on my list this evening, I have Mike and Roxanne Mitsuk. So if you'd like to come to the podium, and just for the record, if you would state your name again, please. And the issue is smoke issue from neighbor's wood stove. Good evening. You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and Councillors. I'm Mike Mitsuk. I live at 24 Hamilton River Road. For the last 1.5 to 2 years, we've had toxic wood smoke issues. This year, even more so, that it's completely unbearable. We have so much smoke entering our home that when we bring our groceries in from the car, when we open the door, our smoke detectors are going off. We cannot have our air exchanger going at all in our 10-year-old home. A home such as ours needs adequate ventilation 24/7 to prevent mold in any of the walls, surface, roof, attic structures as such. Tonight we are out of our comfort zone to address council and residents of Goose Bay about our grave concerns about our neighbours' toxic wood smoke. This is not a puff of smoke that you snuff your nose up to. This here is toxic, enveloping smoke, completely enveloping our home. So much that we can hardly see across our yard. We can hardly see across the road. Most of this happens from 8 o'clock at night when our neighbour seems to go to bed and he closes the stove off completely. We think that he may have an older stove. His wood source that he has there is mismatched green, rotten wood, 2x4s, pressure treated, everything under the sun. And his wood source has never ever been covered up since the 2 years that he had his stove there. Our attic insulation and plywood in our attic are saturated with wood smoke and toxins and needs to be replaced. The plywood and trusses, if the attic insulation is moved, need to be spray sealed to ensure that no toxins from the wood can enter our home if an issue is ever found from this. We cannot do this unless a solution is found. Our home is just 10 years old. We feel our home should not be damaged due to lack of action from council or provincial or anything else. We feel that council should follow air pollution control regulations under the Environmental Protection Act mandated by the provincial regulations. I'll get my wife to give you some copies of that there, and I'd like to state a couple of things there that we have. It gives the stove regulations and what is presentable for emission and toxic stoves. 90% of, well, I'd say 99.95% of wood stoves in the valley are not. People are conscientious for their neighbors, they're conscientious of what they burn, and if a neighbor has a problem, they can take it up with them. And as any of you, I'm sure, would do the exact same thing to remedy any situation that anybody would have. But we've had countless issues with the person next door to us, and he's adamant that he's going to operate his wood stove whichever way he wants.
And he's not approachable.
He's not approachable. We tried to approach him before on issues of fencing and stuff there, and I was assaulted, punched in the back of the head, threatened with a piece of pipe, which we phoned the RCMP, and we had stuff done from that. So on this occasion, we did not approach him at all. We tried. Also on that there, like this, if you look at sections 22, L and M, that tells that the minister shall take in coordination wood smoke violations and stuff like that there, and to work with municipalities to remedy any situations such as this. We are now talking to an environmental protection officer. He hasn't got back to us yet, but we showed him all our information and videos that we have. That could take some time in coming, we know, but we're trying to do our diligence and stuff to get there. When we first mentioned this here, it's like pulling teeth. Everybody's sympathetic, nobody wants to help you. We attempted contact with our fire chief numerous times, but he's not available on any of our texts. At first he was gone away for hockey for a couple of days, which is fine, but we waited almost a full week till the following Wednesday, Thursday before I contacted him again. On one particular bad night, we phoned the fire department. It was so bad, like my head was aching, I was nauseous, my eyes was running.
It woke us up at 3.
It woke us up. It was at 11. It was 11 p.m. We phoned the fire department. I explained to our concerns to Mr. Eddie, who was working at that. He knew exactly what I was talking about. He said, I guess you've got westerly wind. We are east of our neighbor, and we always got prevailing westerly wind. So he knew that. Well, he said, yeah, you get it all the time. I said, we do get it all the time. So he said that he'd have to contact the chief. He said, is there far? I said, no, not as far like a scene, but just Toka's so small. You need a breathing apparatus, like to walk in people's yards. He contacted the chief, which he did not. He contacted the chief and told Mr. Eddie not to come. But he did not respond at all to us. I was out in my yard for an hour and a half waiting for a response with my phone text. It got so bad that I couldn't even breathe in my yard. We phoned the RCMP. Actually 5 times I phoned the RCMP to at least pleading with them to at least come down. to witness the events of our breathing. He finally did at the end time when I played with him so much on the phone, the provincial 911 line, that he finally did shut down, and he just walked in and he just looked at me, phoned Mr. Poole, the municipal officer. We finally decided to try to get appointment to see council. We addressed our concerns to the fire at the concerns for the fire at Town Hall. Never have I felt so uncomfortable as we were being perceived as troublemakers to staff, milling about. While we were explaining our concerns to the clerk, miraculously I received a text from our fire chief, who happened to be in an adjoining room, stating that he was available any time. The fire chief and municipal officer agreed to meet at our home and talk within the next little while. They went to talk to our neighbor. They did not show neighbor's video of how his smoke was affecting our property and health. They did not ask to inspect the stove and check the certification tag on his stove. They did notice his supply of mismatched green and rotten wood that was soaking wet from the previous rain, and I can add, has never been covered from the elements. They did not ask if he was voluntarily helped the situation. I think they're great people. I have nothing really against them, but they really went there unprepared to fix any of our concerns or ask that there, along with no guidelines and stuff there. Our health and our grandchildren's health are being compromised. We have to leave our home often because of irritated eyes, throat, and headaches, as well as nausea. Having to tape up our entrances and doorways to stay well is ridiculous. Having to leave your home in the nighttime to stay elsewhere because of thousands of toxins entering your home and completely enveloping your property is completely unethical and I think criminal. Videos of the smoke sent to this house, and as I say again, not the small little puff of smoke that we're getting, were sent to some of our councillors here this evening, and also I have it on my Facebook page if anybody would like to look at it. It's Mike Mitsuk on Facebook, MIKE-MITSUK. I'd like to say anybody looking at that and not wish that on anybody. Like anybody, like this here is so toxic. You have to have breathing apparatus to walk through our yard. Our grandchildren, when he gets out, poo, pop, stinking, too smoky, pop, and like when winds are the right way, we can't have them sleep over. We can't have them there. What could we do? Breathing wood smoke is the worst thing you can do for your health. It is clearly inappropriate to expose others involuntarily to that kind of risk. It is every bit as important that people do not be exposed to their neighbor's wood smoke against their will. The term environmental justice applies here. A person who burns wood unethically with the wrong fuel source and stove creates pollution victims of everyone in their neighborhood. What can citizens do? I've asked. What do we do at 12, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. when our home's completely there? I don't want to phone the fire hall. That's for emergencies. We're just slowly being polluted. Our home is just slowly being damaged. I don't want. We're at wit's end, and we do not know what to do. Damage to our home. Can the town be responsible for upending damage to our home? Do we have to move away? Do we have to sell our home, which is not going to be worth nothing? Who's going to want to buy a home that's next to a fuel source such as that? This is beyond, like I say, everybody's sympathetic, but nothing is being happened. Nothing can be happened. We're talking now to Environmental Protection Agency. We talked to Perry Trimper. He put us in the right direction on some things here, and he thinks that he may have some options for us. Hopefully for us or anybody else who witnesses here. But like I say, as again, there's very, very few instances of this ever happening in town with anybody's wood stove. Most people are conscientious and they try to do the best thing and for their neighbors. I would do the same thing, but in my place, I cannot for being assaulted or screened at and stuff like that there. Many towns invoke new guidelines to prevent this and make it easier for inspections. Western Canada has done this a lot in Manitoba, Saskatchewan. They invoke new guidelines to make sure that stoves such as yours are what should be used in people's homes to dissuade any toxic pollutions leaving. Newer stoves drastically reduce all this public toxins. Provincial environmental laws exist to protect citizens. We know that. I've seen some there. I wish I had all the pertinent ones here to bring to you today. So I would also like to request a meeting with the Protective Services Committee to see if it can be held more in depth, like one-on-one with whoever may be involved in that there. The only thing is we don't want to do is, I know many councillors here, I know all of them good friends with quite a few people here also. One thing we do not want to do is have to enter into legal litigation to protect our health and damage to our home and our grandchildren's lives. Thank you very much, Council. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Mike and Roxanne, and yeah, it obviously is a very difficult situation. If I could just ask you a question, you had mentioned that you emailed a couple of councillors. I'm just gonna put it on the floor. Did anybody send that information to Protective Services?
I sent it, well, I'm the chair of the Protective Service
Yeah.
Committee. I sent the video to the fire chief.
Right, but has it come up as an agenda?
No, I
item
got
with
it
Protective
after
It was
our,
Okay, you got it.
yeah,
Protective
Okay,
Services,
all right.
but-
after our Protective
Okay.
Services.
But
meeting.
I will definitely put this on the agenda for our next
Yeah.
committee.
And I think that it's hard to have a difficult conversation here in a quick amount of time, but the right night happens because our fire chief is here. So what I'm going to ask him is it possible that you can arrange a time with them before they leave and have a sit down with them? I can do that again. Okay, and just see if there's anything from a bylaw perspective that we have from that, and then give them what information we can or help we can. Is that good for you?
That's no problem.
All right, so he'll arrange before you guys leave this evening to sit down and it's going to go to Protective Services now. So if there's anything that we can do from a council perspective, it'll come through that committee back to council
Mayor,
next.
can I just add
You
too,
sure
that
can.
I spoke to the fire chief on this matter, and he's also doing some research in other
Yep.
municipalities to see
Yep.
if this might be an issue somewhere else.
And that's
And
good,
how it was dealt with.
and maybe we can also look at other communities and see if they're putting in bylaws or regulations that prevent this from happening in other places. So, yep,
Can I also speak, Mayor? Sorry. I just wanted to speak directly to Mike and Roxanne and let them know that I know for you guys, like, this is affecting your day-to-day, every day. With us, it's like, just so that you know what we're doing. You are on the agenda for the next Protective Services meeting, but even getting ready for it, like Councillor Compton-Hobbs said, you know, she's looked at it as soon as it was brought to her attention. I have looked at the code of practices for residential wood burning. The one that Roxanne gave us, there's actually an updated one. So the one that you provided to us is the 2004. There's a newer one, that's the 2022 that I've been consulting. And there's also a model municipal bylaw guide that we can consult with the possibility of implementing something. So we are working, it's just kind of behind the scenes, and I know if we could resolve it immediately, we would.
so
But,
when is
yeah.
the next Protective Services
Well,
meeting?
December the 10th is
Okay.
our.
So
No,
December the 10th, and
That's
if,
the committee of the whole, so
Yeah.
we could probably have a
okay,
separate
you
meeting.
can, and
them
just
prior to
ensure
that.
that their delegation at the meeting,
Yeah.
that's all.
Prior
Alright.
to that,
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
try to schedule a meeting.
So, Fire Chief's gonna touch base with you with a time that's convenient for you guys and him, and, yeah, like I say, we'll work on it as best we can, and, yeah. We appreciate you, and I know how difficult it is to come before, you know, especially on personal matters and that, so, thanks very much. All right, so he'll take care of that. Okay, our next delegation this evening is Lorianne Loyal, and she is coming to the table as a result of an official complaint that you made.
May I
Okay,
excuse
yep.
myself? Thank you.
So, the deputy mayor is removing herself from the meeting. She is permitted, however, to stay in the gallery if she wishes, but she has chosen to leave the room. So if we can have the minutes reflect that, please. Thank you. Just state your name again, Lori. Welcome to council this evening, and the floor is yours. You've already heard what Councillor Pomeroy read, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Lorianne Lyle, and I made a complaint to the town council on August 26th that Deputy Mayor Ella Wallace contravened the code of conduct. This has affected my family and I more than I care to admit. Things that are personal creates a lot of emotions, so bear with me and thank you. I will first give some background on the complaint. The incident was on August 12th while in Bay Roberts, where Ella was the assistant coach of the under-15 girls summer games Labrador soccer team. I want to reiterate that this complaint has relevance to Ella's unprofessional and unethical treatment to me that day. I'm not here tonight to argue her coaching skills, no matter how horrible they were that day. I am giving context on how the altercation came about. In respect to time, I am condensing it. There was very unprofessional treatment by both coaches to two soccer players, one being my daughter. I am not referring to fair play, but unacceptable treatment of these girls. After the last game, I went to see my daughter, who was upset, and I also seen that the other girl in question was crying and standing alone. Neither coach acknowledged her, as they were both busy taking pictures of their kids. I don't know this young girl well, but I knew that she didn't have parents with her. I went over to talk to this girl as she was benched the whole game, and I seen how she had to remove her jersey in front of everyone to give to another player, which completely shocked me. I felt sorry for how she was treated, and I hugged her and I said, I am sorry that happened to you, and it was shameful. With that, Ella came at me, raising her voice, and said, "What did you say?" And I said, "Ella, I'm not talking to you." Ella proceeded to tell me that I'm not taking this away from the girls and that she was sick of my shit all weekend. She made that statement twice, all while coming 4 inches from my face. I backed away, stating that she is creating this whole scene, and all I done was hug a young girl to comfort her. I said, "Ella, how could you be sick of my shit all weekend when I didn't see you?" She said, "I never stopped texting her all weekend." I had my text conversation, and I asked one question after the very first game. Ella lied and fabricated this to make it look bad in a situation that she created. As numerous kids, parents, and spectators were watching, I seen what Ella was doing in creating a scene, so I decided not to fully engage, meaning not raising my voice, ensured that I did not swear, and also backing away from her as I was unsure what she was going to do. She was infuriated with me because I hugged a young girl that she humiliated. Let us talk about the loss of public trust and credible threat of violence, which is how council is expected to review the report according to the policy. Looking at Deputy Mayor, who has a roof over her head, a job, she's a businesswoman and a volunteer. I would also say a good standing member of society, but that definition is being kind, treating others with respect, being accountable for your actions, and resolving your differences peacefully. But that doesn't describe Ella, does it? Council has numerous meetings to discuss that certain members of our town create dangers to others. I, for one, have never been verbally attacked or had one of these people come within 4 inches of my face and yell lies. That has only been done by Deputy Mayor Wallace. I want you to ask yourself, if someone did what Ella did to me to either of you as you leave here today, how would you react? Would you be afraid for your safety? Ella's job, her volunteer work, and possibly coming from a place of privilege certainly can help overlook her actions. I ask council to look past the facade. I can only assume Deputy Mayor lied and fabricated an altercation with me due to her own insecurities of what she done on that soccer field that weekend. I, for one, do not feel confident to have Miss Wallace represent our town, knowing that she lies and fabricates a story to make herself look like a victim and to blame someone else in order to cover for her own wrongdoings. She holds a position of trust for the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay, and how do we condone her actions, especially lying? My question is, what else has she lied about, and what else will she lie about? As a person who's been a victim of her lies and vindictive acts, I, for one, do not trust her to act in good faith on council. She has taken an oath as deputy mayor and as a coach, and she failed in both. According to policy A0047-1 of the Code of Conduct for Councilors, page 1 states that councilors are expected to conduct themselves ethically and professionally. Page 3 and 4 states councilors must be respectful of the presiding officer, their colleagues, employees, and members of the public at all times. In private and public, conduct themselves in a manner which does not bring disrepute onto themselves, their position, the council, or the town. And councilors must not use or attempt their authority to influence a manner that can reasonably be perceived as intimidating, threatening, coercing, or commanding. Page 8. Municipal officials must treat members of the public, one another, and volunteers appropriately and without abuse, bullying, or intimidation. According to Section 15 of the Municipal Conduct Act, it states that to contravene the Code of Conduct, one or more of the following must apply. The contravention of the Code of Conduct resulted in loss of public trust, and the contravention of the Code of Conduct consisted of violence or a credible threat of violence. A credible threat of violence is defined as a statement or course of conduct that does not serve a legitimate purpose and causes a reasonable person to fear for that person's safety, which is definitely something I felt on August 12th, and that my husband and my daughter also feared for my safety, so much so that my husband had to remove my daughter, who was so distraught over the altercation. According to Facebook, which I was a friend of Ella's until that altercation, on June 9th, Ella's Facebook post, her and 2 other counselors traveled to Calgary for a conference and workshop on housing, harassment, among other things. Harassment is defined as an aggressive pressure or intimidation. It wouldn't hurt for Ella to go back and read that again. I am well known for being vocal because I stand up for myself, my family, and others who need it. But believe it or not, I don't like conflict. My life has enough chaos in it right now that I don't go looking for it. But that doesn't mean I will allow harassment and intimidation. I believe Ella knew that her actions that day as coach was not going to go over well, and most people seen it. And she ran with the opportunity because she seen me, so she could play like a victim. Unfortunately for Ella, I didn't play her game. I saw very early on what she was doing, and I'm forever grateful for that. I hope that council will take into account Deputy Mayor's actions and the loss of public trust, giving the information and the level of intimidation, lies, and threatening behavior. I hope you will take this into consideration during your discussions. I was not given a copy of the report, as is not reported by council until after the meeting. This means it's difficult to know what I should have said here tonight. The decision lies with council to decide if Ella contravened the Code of Conduct, or the council may dismiss my complaint altogether. I asked the HR investigator if Ella was found contravening the Code of Conduct, would he recommend to council anything, and he states that he could if asked, but he wasn't. The council doesn't have to follow it, and the council didn't ask for it. So my question is, why even have an external investigator if the council has the last say? I also mentioned that I was concerned about making this complaint as my husband is a town employee and I was in fear of reprisal. The HR investigator stated that council do not manage HR issues, but somehow here we are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Lyle. I will give you just a couple of updates, and you alluded to it in your report. Council takes complaints in this nature very seriously. Our process now, because we do have a new code of conduct for councillors and also for municipal officials, but in this particular case, what happens is you identified the concern to our CAO. She then has to do an investigation and then present the results of that investigation to council. Then council decides what actions will take place. So that investigation, you were interviewed, that investigation did occur. Council has met. After tonight's meeting, the matter does come up in the Finance and Admin and Policy Committee section of our meeting this evening. After tonight's meeting, you will be provided, or you have an opportunity to be given, a copy of the investigation. Our CAO is out of town until Thursday. When she's back on Thursday morning, that will be made available to you. And also, the Deputy Mayor will be, at that time, available to have a copy of the report as well. Without saying anything else, it does come up in our Finance and Admin Committee report this evening. So I hope that answers some of your questions, and I hope the rest of your questions will be answered when that comes up on our agenda. But thank you for bringing them forward. Do we want to, can you scoot out and see if the Deputy Mayor is there to come back in if she wishes? Come to Anybody want to run it?
You were dressing.
Oh, anybody?
Want me to go?
Yeah, one of us. I'm not sure where she went. Oh, there she is, okay. All right. Okay, so that's our two delegations. All right, so moving on to the agenda items, number 4, we have adoption of previous minutes. So the 66th meeting we will address first, October 22nd. So the minutes have been presented. I'll accept the motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Compton Hobbs, seconded by
I'll second it.
Councillor Pomeroy. Discussion on the 66 minutes? Okay, none being heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Passed, accepted those. Move into the minutes of November the 6th, the 67th meeting. A motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So
Moved
moved.
by Councillor Rumble, seconded by Councillor Winters. Discussion on the 67th minutes. Okay, none heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Passed. All right, so moving into correspondence, I have one item here. It was a letter received from the Heart of Labrador 50 Plus Club in reference to senior support programs dated October 30th. I think there has been some additional ones that will come up in the November, will come up in the items for December's meeting. That's the only one that is there. That's in your package. All right, so we'll move into community, committees. Okay, community planning and development, and the floor to Councillor Rumbold.
Thank you, Mayor. The Community Planning and Development Committee met on November the 19th. Our meeting was scheduled for 4:45, and present were myself as chair, Councillor Jackie Compton Hobbs, Councillor Todd Winters, our engineer, Randy Dillon, engineering tech, Mark Urquhart, GIS, Mark Macretis, the CAO, Nadine McCauley, and our executive assistant, Kathy Eddy. Our meeting was called to order at 4:51 p.m. We approved our agenda with a couple of additions, and we had no presentations or delegations in attendance. We reviewed our minutes for errors or omissions, and there were none noted. We reviewed our action items, and we are down to, and I say down to because we had a significant number, we're down to 3 action items, and these are ones that are, there's several things factoring in, so they may remain on our agenda for some time, but we do get regular updates. Under new business, we received 3 building permits for the month of October, and several compliance letters were issued. We had 8 new Crown Lands applications, and some of those will follow with recommendations. Some were deferred where that was applicable to them. We had 1 discretionary land use application for a home-based business. Under new business, we had a letter regarding a new development in town with some concerns from a resident. It was discussed at length, and our engineering tech is to provide a response to the residents. And under other new business, myself as chair, I asked about revisiting some policies that had come up in our recent budget meetings. I asked about policy F0005, and just for clarity, some of the policies that were discussed in the Community Planning and Development Committee are actually related. So a policy such as F0005 is a finance policy, but it was kind of, some things overlap, as we find with many things in the town. So that one is regarding landscaping, and we talked about possibly revising that policy to encourage active participation amongst our residents. So that one will then, cross lanes from community planning and development to finance for their review. We also discussed PW0025, PW meaning Public Works. So this is one that may fall on the table of our Municipal Services Committee, but it was in regards to garbage receptacles and the possibility of making those mandatory in our area. We are experiencing It's not just dogs, we've got crows that are sometimes the size of small dogs. And perhaps it is time for us to look at mandatory garbage receptacles. We do have a policy in place for buildings or structures that have more than 4 units. But we don't have anything for single dwelling households. So that was something that, is just on our radar as far as making sure that we revisit these things regularly. Our engineering technician advised the committee that he had received a call from the manager of the Labrador Inn advising that he is discontinuing his plans for an assisted living facility and they will be resuming regular hotel operations. And that being the end of our new business, we had no other business, and our meeting was adjourned at 5:45 p.m. with our next meeting scheduled for December the 10th. At this time, I'd like to submit my report as presented.
And it's been moved by Councillor Rumbold and the Community Planning and Development Committee that we accept her report as presented. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Wallace. Seconded, or discussion, sorry. It was interesting to note that in the report that over the last 2 years, so far to date this year, but last year included, we've had $25 million worth of development permits issued, which is a nice figure to have. So I'm glad we asked for the switch to dollar value, because then that, instead of saying 16, but now you can put it that, in the last 2 years. So that also represents an economic benefit too, right? So that's nice to see. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Passed. And I know now you have a number of recommendations.
I do.
So I will turn the floor back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so item A, Crown Land Application 163200. The Community Planning and Development Committee recommends that Council provide no objection to Crown Lands Application 163200 located at 617 Trans-Labrador Highway on the condition that future development complies with the town's development regulations.
Okay, moved by Councillor Rumbold and CPD Committee that we provide no objection to Crown Lands Application 163200. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Wallace. Discussion? Councillor Palmer?
Just in terms, so, town engineer is not here, but where's this in relation to the quarries that are there? That was always an issue that comes up.
Yes.
So it's within the,
So, yeah, you'll note, and it is, if you look at the imagery that's in the council package, 617, we already have development at, say, 613 and 615. So we did kind of make a decision that anything that was what we call infill, anything that is already like within that zone where there's already a 300-meter buffer or whatever with the quarries, we would provide no objection to. Anything that goes outside of that already approved development, we are waiting right now until we get some clarity as to the quarry
okay, so this
situation.
land is not within.
So,
the
yeah, this one
300.
is in that infill, what we call the infill area.
Okay.
It's not affecting it's not affecting the quarry.
Well, it is, but no additional effect because there's already.
So it's not
It's
within
not-
300 meters of
No,
the
it's not
quarry, is the
impacting
question
the
I'm
quarries,
asking.
is what we were told in the meeting.
Yeah, when I say it's in, it's still with those circles on the picture. This one is still, so it's not impacting it any more than 615 and 615 and 619, because it's in the middle of those two.
I know
So,
what you're saying.
yeah.
So 615 and 619,
Yep.
they've been there for quite some time, correct? Like they were approved a while back?
They were approved, say, within the last 6 months or so,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, all right.
Mayor?
Yeah, no, I'm looking because something's not, this is 617, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so 617,
They're all adjacent.
yeah, so
Yeah, but there's a
617.
quarry, right?
No, the quarry is quite a ways.
On the other side of
So
the
all
road.
these are along, in the package, the map shows all of these are along Trans-Labrador Highway. 617, 619, or whichever one this one is for, is in the middle of two that were already approved. So the quarry is up the road,
Yeah.
yeah, way up the.
Okay, as long, like, the question I'm asking, within that 300-meter radius.
See this?
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I've
So
looked at the.
this is the one we're talking about, it's not even near the quarry. But, so is this the application for Mason Mugford or Tyrone?
617, what?
This is the first one, yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, so let's move to discussion, any further discussion? Yes, sir?
I just want to point out to you, Councillor Rumble, on the very first page again,
There's no name.
says, have you ever applied for Crown lands before? And they say yes. And if you say yes, please provide the details, and they didn't. Someone else in here did that, actually.
We should note that, because that came
Yeah,
up
we
the
did
last
have
couple
that,
meetings.
we had that conversation, but just at our last meeting, because it was brought up in the October council meeting.
Yep.
And then when we went to our November committee meeting, these were already submitted. So the next committee meeting that we have, this has been addressed, and it shouldn't continue to be a problem.
Okay, perfect.
And just to get back to Councillor Pomeroy's question, so when I'm talking about like the infill area, so we had an application that you will not see a recommendation for in this particular meeting. It's for 625, because it's outside of, it's farther down from those ones that are actual infill. So even though the impact to the quarry would be, so in that case, you've still got your quarry, you've still got your 300-meter, I'm doing this and I don't know,
Buffer, yeah.
but yeah, but we're not gonna allow any further down. It's just in particular, all we're addressing is those properties that are in the middle of
Seems
already approved properties.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
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 Passed. Motion's passed. All right,
okay.
next one, please.
Item B, Crown Lands Application 163245, O&M Holdings. The Community Planning and Development Committee recommends council provide objection to Crown Lands Application 163245, located at 3537 Aspen Road, on the basis that the Crown Land request conflicts with future expansion plans in the area.
Okay, moved by Councillor Rumbold and CPD Committee that we object to Crown Lands Application 163245, 3537 Aspen Road. Seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. Discussion. Okay, Deputy Mayor?
Just to clarify in this one, is it because it's extending back on the existing footprint that's already been allocated?
I'm actually a little surprised at the wording on this one, because I had thought, and I'm gonna look at,
Because in the
Councillor-
past, other businesses applied for that land there too, and it goes back to the trails
Yeah.
and impacts future development there. So nobody was ever approved in that area.
Yeah, the land, just to add, like, land extensions that were approved in the past, we haven't gone beyond those. So they all stay within a certain boundary. And that area is for future development as a commercial area. So if you start chipping away at it, eventually it's gonna be
I think anyone that has an approval has had an extension to their land
to a
based
certain
on that
boundary.
there's gonna be a road go
Yeah.
potentially up inside that, and it wouldn't interfere with that, because that is the town's intention at some point in time when demand is there, I guess. Deputy Mayor?
Just to clarify, I'm sure on this one, the request is for the square footage behind the existing land,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
So adjacent, or probably running along the fence,
Yeah, that's
the D&D fence line.
right,
Can't
but the,
remember how far.
Yeah.
back.
One of them yeah.
Going back that
That's,
way.
you're allowing this back.
Right, but going back that direction,
In
it's not
that,
going,
in that area, yes.
Yeah.
it's not going towards Aspen Road, it's going back towards the fence.
No, right, and that's the
This way.
reason, because in behind that, the
That whole
plan
area,
was,
that's
the
clear.
plan was that there was gonna be another road or two go there for additional lots.
We're
And if you
talking-
allowed piecemeal, then you wouldn't be able to do that. So I think that's where the objection comes from, future plans, from a town perspective, right? All right, any further discussion? Okay, now, all those in favor of the objection indicate with aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Okay, passed.
Okay.
Next one, please.
Item C, Crown Land Application 163247. The Community Planning and Development Committee recommends that council provide no objection to Crown Lands Application 163247 located on Burnt Point on the condition that future development complies with the town's development regulations.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Rumbold and CPD Committee that,
Mayor, can I say point of order a second? Just because there's a typo in it, and we brought this up in the meeting.
okay,
It's not Burnt Point, it's Groves Point.
Oh, I thought
that's
it was
not a typo,
fixed.
that's a major
Mistake.
error.
That's
That's a hit.
wrong
It
location.
was a copy and paste.
Yeah, you see the map attack.
Yeah, okay, so, and we haven't had a seconder on that, right?
No.
Not yet.
So
I
if,
can
if
read.
nobody seconds it, we can, that motion will come to the floor and then we can redo the motion.
Okay.
So I will ask for a seconder,
I'll second it.
No,
seriously.
What, you asked for a seconder?
no, we said we didn't want a second.
Oh,
Okay.
You won't ask for a seconder, sorry, I thought you said I will
Renee.
ask for one.
So,
Renee.
so there has been a seconder, so now we'll have to go to a vote. And, if the intent is this Burnt Point is in the motion, then if we approve this,
Yeah, yeah,
we will approve this for Burnt Point.
yeah, just.
So if
Yeah,
it's
deny
not
it.
approved,
Yeah,
then, so, everyone clear on that? Where we're going? Okay,
I
so,
thought you said I'm gonna call for a second.
all those in favor,
I don't think so, no, because it changes the body
Right.
of the context
changes the intent of the motion.
of the motion.
Okay, all those in favor of this motion to provide no objection to Burnt Point address, indicate with aye. None heard. All those in contrary-minded, indicate with nay. Nay. Okay, this is defeated. Now we'll pass the floor back to
Okay.
Councillor Rumbold.
So, not looking at the paper in front of me, looking at the other paper. Crown Lands Application 163247. The Community Planning Development Committee recommends council provide no objection to Crown Lands Application 163247, Lot 14, no, sorry, bounded on, okay, so yeah, Groves
Just the
Point,
application number.
Groves Point Road, on the condition that future development complies with the town's development regulations.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Rumbold and CPD Committee that we have no objection to Crown's Land Application 163247 on Groves Point Road. Seconded by,
I'll second that.
she beat you to it, Councillor Palmer. Seconded by Councillor Compton Hobbs. Any discussion? None heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Passed. That was a lot of work, that one. Next one.
Okay. Item D, Crown Lands Application 163265. The Community Planning and Development Committee recommends council provide objection to Crown Lands Application 163265, located at 5 Hamilton River Road, as the town cannot approve Crown Land applications to anyone but the registered owner of the property within town limits.
Okay, moved by Councillor Rumbold and CPD Committee that council object to Crown Lands Application 163265 at 5 Hamilton River Road. Seconded by Councillor Broomfield. Discussion.
Just, could you
Yes.
clarify exactly what that means?
I was just going to ask the
I mean,
question.
Sure.
cannot approve, because we approve Crown land everywhere within town limits.
No, okay, so I'm gonna read it again. Cannot approve Crown Lands to anyone but the registered owner. So in this particular case, we have a Crown Lands application, but the applicant hasn't been able to provide evidence that they are the registered owner. So,
Would the Crown isn't the registered owner, you're saying? Like, if it's Crown land, it's owned by the Crown. So
Yeah, I
who-
was just, unless it's a Crown Land application for a sewer, septic, or some other part of Crown Land, but why would someone apply for a piece of land under
okay,
the
I'm
Crown?
gonna, without getting
My
too
understanding is-
detailed, but what I will tell you is, I'm just gonna go from the briefing note and, try to do it. Okay, so this is a Crown Land application for a grant to rebuild a residential building. The property is zoned residential low density. Residential buildings are permitted in RLD 1. The property is listed as being owned by a person in 1996, this land was transferred to another person. And anyway, nothing in our records indicates that the property was granted to the person who has applied for this Crown Lands application. So we have reached out to the applicant and have not gotten a response. We are providing objection today, but if this applicant gets back to us and says, here you go, here's my proof of ownership, they can then come back to us and we can review this again.
So have we reached out to Crown Lands? What's Crown Lands?
According
about this?
to the information that we have,
Wouldn't be
the
for us.
property is listed as being owned by somebody other
Yeah.
than the applicant.
Okay, so it's not Crown Land.
Technically
It's a
not.
Crown Land application for a grant to rebuild.
Yeah. That sounds like a Crown Lands issue, not ours.
Yeah.
Councillor Brumfield.
I'd like to point out what Councillor Owen just mentioned, and I'm going to bring in my education on this one. There was no transfer of property within the town, all it was a change of address, and to put it in care of her daughter, his daughter. It was not a change of ownership,
Yeah.
just change of address with
But
care
there was
of.
nothing on paper to confirm that as the issue.
Okay. So then that sounds like a Crown Lands issue.
I think that's true.
We can object based on we haven't been identified or known, and, you know, that it hasn't been granted or et cetera, or transferred, then, you know, that's an issue that Crown Lands needs to do. But so we can bring it up to them like we're doing, and, yeah, see what happens from that end.
But yeah, we have definitely disclosed to the applicant what we need, that we need proof of ownership. So it's
Oh, yeah.
kind of, the ball is in the applicant's court right
And
now.
it's funny that a piece of land that has a structure on it would still
No
be
longer
Crown
has a
Land.
structure.
No, but I mean, that would have had a structure
Oh,
on it, is still a piece of Crown Land, right? Especially if it's been, you know, changed hands. All right, any further discussion? Okay, none being heard, and so, all those in favor of providing an objection, may indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Passed. Next one, please.
Item E, Crown Lands Application 163294. The Community Planning and Development Committee recommends that council provide no objection to Crown Lands Application 163294, located at 93 Hamilton River Road, on the condition that future development complies with the town's development regulations.
Okay, it's moved by Councilor Rumbold and CPD Committee that council provide no objection to Crown Lands Application 163294, located at 93 Hamilton River Road. Seconded by?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilor Compton Hobbs. Discussion, sorry. Okay, none being heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Passed. Next one, please.
Okay, my final one is HBB, Home-Based Business, 15 Cartwright Road. The Community Planning and Development Committee recommends council approve a home-based business application at 15 Cartwright Road for the Grime Reaper Company, which will operate a home office for a cleaning service company, subject to compliance with all the town regulations and conditions.
Okay, it's moved by Councilor Rumbold and CPD that we approve a home-based business at 15 Cartwright Road for the Grime Reaper Company. Seconded by Councilor Broomfield. Discussion. That's a tongue twister.
Good name.
Yeah. Okay, none being heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Passed. Thank you, Councilor Rumbold. All right, so we move next now into Community Services and Recreation Report. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Community Services and Recreation Committee report. Meeting was scheduled Thursday, November 14th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. Present were Councilor Todd Winters, Chair, Councilor Jackie Compton-Hobbs, CEO Nadeem McCauley, Acting CSR Director Brad Butler, and Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy. Regrets were from Deputy Mayor Ella Wallace and CDM Greg Osmond. Meeting was called to order at 5:31 p.m. Yeah, the approval agenda, there were no additions, there were no presentations or delegations, and there was a review of previous minutes and action items, no errors or omissions, and action items are as follows. Number 1, Muley Mountain Soccer Field needs to be cleaned up and rolled out and smooth out some dips and hollows, also consider hydro seeding. Hydro seeding has been completed. The latest update was in November 2024, when Grey Rock will provide the service in the spring. The new CSR director will follow up in the spring. The goal is to have the field ready for the 2025 season. Item number 2 in action items was the curling club repair and maintenance. The November 24th update, committee asked that the CAO reach out to the president of the association, Brandon Gillespie, and invite him for a meeting regarding the upcoming season in regards to possible fees and fee structure. Then we moved on to new business. New business, Canada Postcards mural project. Committee discussed the possible sites for the mural. It was agreed that the CEO complete the application and finalize the site should the town be successful with the application. Recommendation to follow. The second item under new business, council will participate in the long-term care December birthday party. The date is to be determined. Other business, manager's report. There was a discussion about the department's request in the 2025 budget to include the need for a new heavy-duty trailer for the CSR department. Acting Director Butler advised that the trailer would allow for 2 mowers to be towed at the same time, limiting transportation times. The trailer could also be used for towing various other CSR assets such as flooring. It would also save on the cost of renting equipment. CAO also advised there is still money left in the CSR budget for 2024 that could cover the cost of this purchase. Butler also spoke to the cost of resurfacing Husky Park, advising that the cost of materials will alone range between $30,000 and $35,000. The committee agreed that the surface is due for improvement. This will be tasked to the CSR director for the 2025 season. Second item under new business was town tents. The tents continue to deteriorate from being set up and taken down so often. The acting CSR director, Butler, suggested updating the current policy for using town tables and chairs to include tents with restrictions as to where they can be used. Also, he suggested putting a plan in place to replace a tent yearly, starting in 2025. This will be tasked to the new CSR director. That being the end of committee business. Next meeting is scheduled for the committee of the whole, which is scheduled for Tuesday, December 10th. Adjournment, there being no further business, no discussion, the meeting adjourned at 6:54 p.m. Please accept report as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Winters. It's moved by Councillor Winters that we accept the CSR committee report as presented. Seconded by? Okay, we'll take, I saw Councillor Brumfield's hand first. We'll take him. Discussion. Okay, no discussion being heard. All those in favor of accepting the report as presented, indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Passed. You have one
Yes, one recommendation.
recommendation. Floor is yours.
All right, Canadian Postcards Mural Project. The CSR committee recommends council provide a letter of support for the Canadian Postcards Mural Project for Happy Valley Goose Bay to be attached to the application.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Winters that we provide a letter of support for the Canadian Postcards Mural Project for Happy Valley Goose Bay. Seconded by Councillor Brumfield. Discussion. Someone want to give it just a brief what it is?
Oh, sorry, I can read the letter if you want. Well,
I don't think we
it
need
just
to
goes
full.
down, yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically, an individual artist is reaching out to communities across Canada to basically come to your community, do some research on your community, and then create a mural that's gonna be probably 15 feet by 12 feet, somewhere that's visible for the entire community, based on the history and the people that he talked to from the community, based on his history and other things with regards to town.
And the proposed location is.
The proposed location right now is Kingston Park.
Okay, wonderful. Any further discussion?
Just
Councillor
one
Thomas?
question. In terms of this artist coming in, is that at his cost or at the town's
Yes,
cost?
I forgot to mention that. All costs are associated with the applicant.
Okay.
I think basically what he does is he looks for projects across the country, goes in and just tries to improve the look of the community. And like I said, all the funding coming for this is through him, through grant processes, through arts
Great.
programs from Canada.
Thanks.
Yep, and there's a detailed thing in your councillor package here on what he is and what he's doing. Yep, so, any further discussion? Okay, none being heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Passed. All right, so let's move into finance and policy. And the
Okay,
floor
thank
is
you.
yours, sir.
Initially, we didn't think we were gonna have a meeting this month, but we decided to because there's a couple of issues come up, so we did have a short meeting. So we met on Monday, November the 18th at 4:30. Present was myself in the chair, as well as Councillor Bert Pomeroy and Deputy Mayor Ella Wallace, CAO Nadine McCauley, DFO Mike Dalmont, Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy, and CDM Greg Osmond. And regrets were from SIT Valerie Pye. The meeting was called to order at 4:54. The agenda was approved and there was no delegations. First thing, we reviewed the previous minutes. There's no errors or omissions. So we reviewed the action items and for the updates were noted on them. We had a couple of new business items. There will be some recommendations coming forward for some of them. We have a request for the donation to the annual Salvation Army Kettle Drive. We have a request right off to adjust interest on one business account. We also have a request to write off business tax and interest on another business account. And we also have a request for a letter of support from Kane's Quest. And then we have our policy A00008, public council meeting delegations. We have a recommendation for it for that. And then we had two other items in our other business, which was a record management policy. And there will be recommendations coming on this one here. And as well, we also have a new policy or proposed a new policy for F0009, which is a not-for-profit policy. And the recommendation on that one is well coming forward. So the meeting adjourned at 5:36, and the date of the next meeting is Tuesday, December the 10th at 4:45.
Okay. It's been moved by Councillor Brumfield that we accept the Finance and Policy Committee report as presented. Seconded by Councillor Winters. Discussion. Okay, none heard. All those in favor of accepting the report as presented indicate with aye.
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 Contrary-minded? Passed. All right, sir, you have some
Okay, thank you.
recommendations?
Yes. The first one, recommendation 3A, the Salvation Army Kettle Drive. The FAP committee recommends council approve a monetary donation of $2,500 to the Salvation Army for their annual 2024 Christmas Kettle campaign.
Okay, moved by Councillor Brumfield and FAP committee that we donate $2,500 to the Salvation Army for the 2024 Christmas Kettle campaign. Seconded by
I'll second that.
Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion?
Just,
Councillor Collins?
Mayor, I'm very, I'm happy to support this recommendation. I read today and that the Salvation Army Kettle Drive won't be allowed to be held at the Avalon Mall anymore because of religion. And to me, I look at this as an organization that benefits the community. It's not about religion. It's about helping people in our community. And I'm very happy to support this, and I would encourage everybody to support it as well.
Councillor Brumfield?
Yes, and not further on with what Councillor Pomeroy just said, I'd also like to point out that they are also very, very active in this community for helping us out in terms of emergencies, that kind of stuff, right? First time they were there when we had our electricity freeze here, when we first got on, and then the summer passed, they were there.
Constant.
And they helped the whole community for everything, really,
Yeah.
right?
I watched the news story on CBC about why Crombie, I guess, the landlord, they are across the country and they own multiple properties, and they've just taken a commercial, I guess, a company policy shift that won't align with any religious organizations, and so they're aligning with things like mental health and other stuff like that. I agree wholeheartedly in this community. We're lucky. Fire chief is here. I mean, he can allude to the fact whether it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the night, if they need, the Salvation Army shows up with their emergency response vehicle, helps our firefighters. They've helped with their building, they've helped with their people, they helped our evacuation. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is a small token that we can do to help them. So, I'll support. Councillor Compton House first.
I just wanted to add that I spoke to Major K. Barnes today of the Salvation Army, And if anybody on council or out there that's listening that wants to volunteer on the kettle, they're still looking for volunteers.
Okay, good. Councillor, you were going to say the exact same thing.
My 2 cents worth is just to say that I'm one of those people that always hung my head because I don't carry cash. And now when you go out and you see those little signs, and I'm an Apple Watch user, so I go tap, tap, and I've made my donation. So they've made it so convenient for us to donate
I hope you
that,
hit,
yeah.
I hope you hit the $20. Yeah, totally. I mean, they've been
You know
very
it goes off
responsive.
every time you walk by.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the tag goes off every time.
take your watch.
Okay, so that's, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Passed. Next one, sir?
Okay, the next one is 3B, interest adjustment. The FAP committee recommends council approve an interest adjustment to Woodward 001 in the amount of $2,322.83 as of November 5th, 2024.
Okay, moved by Councillor Brumfield and FAP that we approve an interest adjustment to account W00, or WOOD W001 in the amount of $2,322.83. Seconded by? Seconded by Councillor Winters. Discussion? Okay, none heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Passed. Next one, sir.
Okay, 3C, write-off business tax and interest. The FAP committee recommends council approve to write off the principal and interest for SUNSH 001 in the amount of $2,294.14.
Okay, moved by Councillor Brumfield and FAP committee that we write off the principal and interest for SUNSH 001 in the amount of $2,294.14. Seconded by?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Compton Hobbs. Discussion?
Just so that, for the record, I guess this business, Chair, no longer exists, hasn't existed in quite
That's
some time, correct?
Yes,
And
they've
they haven't
gone
even been
closed
in
the
town,
doors.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This is really not collectible, so.
yeah.
All right, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Passed. Next one?
Okay, 3D, Kane's Quest letter of support. The FAP committee recommends council provide a letter of support for Kane's Quest 2026 race.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Brumfield and FAP that we issue a letter of support for Kane's Quest 2026. Seconded by Councillor, or Deputy Mayor Wallace. Discussion? None heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Passed. Next one, please.
Okay, the next one is 3E, policy A0008, public council meeting delegations. The FAP committee recommends council approve policy A0008, public council meeting delegations as presented in the council package.
Okay, moved by Councillor Brumfield and the FAP committee that we approve policy A0008, public council meeting delegations as presented in our council package. Seconded by
I'll second that.
Councillor Pomeroy. Discussion? Councillor Brumfield.
I'd like to point out now, since we've been on council, we've been working on this policy. I'm not saying that is the greatest one we've come up with, but we'd always try, if you need to make adjustments, you can always do adjustments later on down the road, let the staff get used to it and apply it as it is.
Councillor Pomeroy, do you have your hand up? Okay, sorry. Yeah, and I think in terms of the adjustment that we made to this policy is to reflect that HR matters will not be discussed in public delegation process going forward. So that's the major one. Councillor Rumble?
Yeah, I guess just to add to that was that this is also a policy that brings us in line with other municipalities. So we kind of did our homework on this and we looked at what other municipalities are doing. And so any adjustments or changes that have been made for that reason, just to make sure that we're current and discussing only what is relevant to be discussed in council chambers.
And in terms of guarding privacy and things like that as well. So.
Absolutely.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Passed. Next one, sir?
Okay, the next one is policy A0059, records management policy. The FAP committee recommends council approve policy A0059, records of management, as presented in the council package.
Okay, moved by Councillor Broomfield and the FAP committee that council approve policy A0059, the records management policy, and it's in our council package. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Wallace. Discussion?
I
Councillor?
got some questions on this one, Mayor. So I was reading the policy and, if you can just explain it a bit, Councillor Broomfield, for the nonprofit organization, the net.
This is not
This is
nonprofit.
A0059.
That's the next one, Councillor.
Oh, jeez.
This is records management.
Sorry about that. I've gone ahead of
But he can
myself.
explain that one too if you wish.
I've gone ahead of
I think it
myself.
just brings in line our record management
Yeah,
side of stuff.
sorry about that.
I'll put you in line for the next
Yeah.
one. Any further discussion on A0059? Okay, none heard. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Passed. And now for a policy that we have been working on.
Okay, yeah.
For eternity.
0009, business and property tax, nonprofit organizations and groups exemption. This is the one I was talking about, really, that we've been working on since we first got on council.
Yes.
And there's been, we've been through the council before and it was defeated, so we had another kick at it, and like I said,
So
all
can we
do is-
bring the motion forward first and then
I
we'll
think that's
discuss?
why I was confused.
Yeah. So it's been moved by Councillor Broomfield and the FAP committee that we approve policy F0009, business and property tax for nonprofit organizations and groups, exemptions. Seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. And I'm going to open the floor to discussion to Councillor Compton Hobbs.
I'll try it again now. I was confused because you were confused. This is the one we actually talked about since, for a while,
Yeah.
right? Non-profit.
Yeah.
So if you want to explain a little bit so the listening public and anyone out there nonprofits might understand a bit better, but the way I read it was net income 20,000 or less would get 100%, and then it's broke down to
Yes. and it
50,
goes
25.
Based on the scale they have there, yes.
So
Yeah.
when,
So-
in the meeting, the discussion
Net
went,
income is
yeah.
your income after all your expenses
Right.
have been paid and everything else, right? So what profit you have left?
So my concern is for nonprofit organizations, they're gonna have to gather up all these financial statements and audits and.
Well, they still had to do that anyway.
The policy was there before.
Always had to do
We're
that.
not creating it. So they were, originally, they were getting a 4 mil rate on the tax, right?
No, originally they were getting 8, then
8, yes.
reduced it to half.
Then you
or not.
reduced it to 4.
So I think in this, just if I could, in this whole thing, it's been, since we came on, a bone of contention. And yes, promises were made that we're working on it, and we have been working on it continuously. And I think this achieves a good balance, because originally it was going to be net income. So a certain thing, net income minus, income minus government contributions. So you could have some organizations that are directly impacted by this one specifically that would show an income of a lot of money. But
My
at the,
concern is,
but
you
at,
know,
just if I could finish.
I didn't
at the-
finish yet, so, but
at-
anyway, go
if-
ahead.
yeah, thank
and I'll
you.
finish.
All right. If the issue around the net income brings it down to what they have after the fact. So it's not a, say for instance, if somebody has a type of business that there's patrons and there's a lot of money that passes over the business table kind of deal, then income-wise, that would almost elude all of them. Donations, everything, that would be eluded. So when the discussion came around, the suggestion was made about net income. So now, a business that has a net income of those amounts, they will receive a corresponding amount of deduction. Where a business that has a net income of less than 20, a small not-for-profit, would receive 100%. So the thing is that the policy has always been there. It is taxpayers' money, so there always was an accountability there in terms of supposed to provide audits or financial statements. So those financial statements, that requirement's still there. Yeah. So now at the end of the day, when the financial statements come in and their net income is less than 20 or 20,000 or less, they get the 100%. If it's, and there's other thresholds there. So I think it's as fair and as equitable while remaining accountable to the taxpayers for taxpayers' money.
So
Yeah,
my
I'll go.
fear is that I get the net income to 20,000 or less. I support 100%, like the SPCA and the golf course and whoever getting these, these breaks on the net income, 20,000 or less. But there's other nonprofits in the community that receive, you know, core funding to operate, which I get is, you know, it's gonna show less than 20 or whatever. Get lots of grants and donations and whatever, and they may not use some of that funding until the following year. So it's gonna be like kind of a mess for some of these
But
organizations.
It
not-
probably would still show up in their financial statements as committed money,
It will
right?
show up in their
Yeah.
financial statements, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's gonna be a little bit difficult for some more nonprofit organizations.
But
Than
you
others.
see, that's also why we put those like figures in the policy itself, because those would be easy. Once staff gets used to working with them, those figures would be very easy to change, right? That's the
I mean,
point
it's
of
a
that.
start, it's something on paper, but, I just a little bit hesitant because I feel that some may not be included that should be.
That's where the net income, now it's fair to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I say, if an agent, if a group has, you know, $100,000 and 50 of it's for this year, 50 of it's for next year, it's in an account, it's in a line object in the budget that shows committed or shows project, which reduces your net income to include that as well.
And Mayor,
That's no
just to
problem.
add, I mean, the core funding part, a lot of not-for-profits would receive government grants and contributions,
Mine is that.
totally exempt
Right,
from that.
absolutely.
So any government grant or contribution that's provided to any not-for-profit organization, whether it's Libra House or
Yep.
any group in
anyone,
town at
yeah.
all, that funding would be exempt from this
Yep.
net income.
So basically, it works out to, I think it achieves what we set out to do,
I
which
think
was
so,
to help those organizations which should be helped and need to be helped, it's just we had to try to find a
And
mechanism.
just to add,
and now we
Mayor,
have it.
like, this is based on a needs basis. So if it's demonstrated need for assistance, then the town still has discretionary decision over that. The thresholds are there as a guide for staff that would determine what the amount of discount would be. But if there's a demonstrated need and they can demonstrate that with the information that's provided, the council would still have a discretionary decision over that.
But I think the funding side of the thresholds, that if you have an association who's in need, I'm assuming their net income is not gonna be over $100,000,
Yeah.
I don't think so
right?
either.
So,
Thresholds will
But-
cover that.
but, yeah, and that's where it is.
I have a question.
Any more? Yep.
Chair Councilor Broomfield, my understanding is this is going to be like a working policy, I guess, on paper, that if changes need to be made, you're gonna try it for a year, or is that what the discussion you had in
Well,
your meeting?
whenever, you can try it in 6 months, you can make changes. This is a policy that's not affecting the budget per se. So we can make changes 6 months from now or a year.
Yeah,
Let the staff use it for a while, get used to it, and after a while, they'll know what should be changed, or if anything should be changed, if it's good the way it is, right?
And the other side, the organizations that would come under this have an opportunity to look at the
Yeah, I
policy.
mean, it's a new policy,
Yeah.
basically, and like with anything, there's gonna be a little bit of growing pains. But I'm confident, based on the work that's been put in this, that we have a good basis for a real good policy here. And it's not totally out of line with the act. So it's pretty well close to what provincial legislation would allow us to do anyway.
I hope it's totally under the act, sir.
Well, it's pretty close.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a good balance, and I think that, you know, when organizations take it back and look at it, I think that, you know, if there is any arduous impact on groups, then they'll come to us, but I think we've captured, with the net income thing, I think we've captured where we need to be. No further conversation, I think we've dealt with that one. We look forward to see what the impact and what the feedback is from organizations now. All those in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Passed. That's that
And
one.
that's it for me, other than the checks, I guess.
No,
which is
you
what-
have two more, sir.
This is yours.
Oh,
But
Back page, sorry.
yeah, that's right there.
Keep going, one more.
yeah, so, there's two, right? First one is,
Yeah, okay.
Okay, resolutions.
yeah, resolutions, okay. But they are,
Me?
yep,
Okay, for this one, I declare it.
okay, all right, yep. So Deputy Mayor is declaring conflict in this
No.
particular situation?
Yes,
Yes?
yeah.
shouldn't be the council that
Council have
declares
conflict.
she's a conflict?
No, she can self-declare, which is what she's done, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, so,
just one second, do you have an issue with that, or?
Yeah, this is different than what I understood it to
Okay.
be. I'm confused.
Okay, there was an
And I
email, there was
have
an
to-
emathat sent today from the
Oh,
CAO
okay, I didn't get that.
that indicated an issue would potentially be coming to council,
Okay,
and that not what the issue was or anything outside of the fact that she would need to declare, so.
okay.
Yeah.
So, I didn't get that.
There you go. No,
Thank
no,
you.
you never know.
Clears it up.
No, you wouldn't know it.
I don't believe either, no.
All right,
Okay, so
Okay.
Floor is
basically
yours,
what we're dealing with is a code of conduct, and a complaint that was filed, and we had an investigation done into it, okay? So we have 2 recommendations as a result of this investigation. So be it resolved that pursuant to the Town of Happy Valley Goose Bay's Code of Conduct Policy, Councilors Policy Number A0047-2, regarding complaint number 2024-01, filed with the Town of Happy Valley Goose Bay against Deputy Mayor Ella Wallace. The report filed and submitted by the independent investigator dated October 28, 2024, to the Town Council noted 2 breaches of the town's Code of Conduct Policy. The Town Council accepts the findings of this report and therefore hereby find Deputy Mayor Ella Wallace in contravention of the policy.
number 2 is all under one.
Okay? And then part 2 of this, pursuant to section 15 of the Municipal
Point of
Conduct
order,
Act
Worship.
regarding the
But
penalties.
just
for
one moment, please, point of
contraventions.
order.
Because it's listed as resolution, so
Yeah.
we're doing 1 or 2?
No, that's just the be it resolved. The second one is where we're,
Yeah.
Okay, all
We
right.
have to accept
all
it.
right.
It was
Just
only
a
one.
typo
number 2.
there.
Yeah, and I only got this,
So I'll read
just
number
like you
2
guys
starting
did.
again.
Yeah, number 2 again, please.
Pursuant to section 15 of the Municipal Conduct Act regarding penalties for contravention of the Code of Conduct, RE councilors and former councilors, the Town Council of the Town of Happy Valley Goose Bay has determined that Deputy Mayor Ella Wallace has contravened the town's Code of Conduct Policy, Councilors number A0047-2, and as such has decided to reprimand the councilor. The council will be advised by letter of the conduct expected of a municipal council as per the town's Code of Conduct Policy / councilors.
Okay, so it's been resolved that we, as council now, have to accept number 2. So it's been read, it's been moved by Councillor Brumfield that we provide, that we have found that the deputy mayor or the councillor has contravened the town's Code of Conduct Policy A0047-2, and as a result, based on the act or the regulations, we are advising and giving the deputy mayor a letter of reprimand, which will explain that she has been reprimanded by council, and council advised by letter the conduct expected of a municipal councillor as per the town's Code of Conduct Policy. So it's been moved by Councillor Brumfield, seconded by Councillor Rumbold. Discussion? Councillor Brumfield. Or sorry, Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, Your Worship, I know that when we discussed this in a privileged meeting, this was discussed in a privileged
Yep.
meeting, correct? And I was a little reluctant with this resolution because I didn't want it to be perceived as council didn't take this seriously. And, after giving it some sober thought and thinking about it, a reprimand, by the fact that we're here discussing this in a public meeting with the deputy mayor, I'm sure she's listening. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's certainly something that we've taken very, very seriously. And so therefore, I will support this recommendation.
Councillor Compton Hobbs.
Yeah, I was gonna say similar, that, just shows that with the new code of conduct, you can't brush this stuff under the carpet, it has to be dealt with, and I think the council dealt with it in the right way. I just got a question, who's gonna be writing the letter, the CAO or the mayor?
Apparently, no, the CAO. So this resolution is a direct result, my understanding is, of being written by our legal team, and the letter of reprimand also, to the best of my knowledge, is what I've been advised. And it can't be provided until this meeting is over and the result of this vote happens. And I'm assuming that first thing in the morning there will be a letter. I will note that what I was advised as well is that after this vote, the respondent and the complainant will both be able to receive copies of the investigation report, and that will happen. I think the the complainant has already been advised, and I think on Thursday morning when Nadine is back, CAO is back, that she'll be able to send that information to her, and I provided that information to her prior to this evening. Yeah, just if you just let me finish too as well. I agree with. So this is, as you see, 2024 number 01 in the be it resolved section. This is our first complaint of this nature, and it really is the council's first complaint since the new regulations came in terms of municipal conduct, and the conduct that's supposed to happen from a councillor and elected official. But then we have developed the policy A0047, which clearly states that. But then there's another policy that that deals with municipal elected officials. Under the regulations, there is a list of, I guess, penalties, for lack of a better word, that can be given. And when council from, I guess, right from do nothing to, invoke a very major penalty, council took that in mind. Some good discussion occurred in their privilege meeting that happened, but because it's privilege means it has to be ratified in our vote here this evening. So there was a discussion around what was, and I think council all that were there, I can only speak to myself, but two other councillors have said as well, that we did take this issue serious, and we wanted to make sure that, the perception isn't there that we did nothing but take it serious. And there was some serious conversation around the table, so that's Councillor Rumble.
I just wanted to, further to what the other councillors have said, I just wanted to reiterate what was in the resolution, that it says the report filed and submitted by the independent investigator. And I, for one, was really grateful for the fact that we had the ability to have an independent investigation done by an external party who has no bias, no preconceived anything. It was as fact-finding as could possibly be. So in that, we were able to look at what was presented to us and clearly make a decision as to, whether we found contravention or not. But yeah, it's important, I think, for a governing body such as us, but for anybody to, when the need is to bring in an independent investigator, then that's what we need to do, so that, our citizens know that we take things seriously, but that we also utilize whatever tools are available to us.
And as well, that there is a set of guidelines that, elected officials and also municipal officials have to go by. And this just, solidifies that whole process. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor with the resolution indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contraminded? Passed. All right. You have, that's it for you, right?
Yes.
Huh? Yeah, we'll get Ella back.
I'll get
Someone
Ella.
could be, yep, please. We need a light or something. Now, in my council package, I don't have a PS. All I have is municipal services.
Yeah, that's all I got. No, there's
I don't think there was like service, was it?
Okay. Was there?
There's two different.
Yeah, I know, but I only have MS in my meeting, in the package I'm looking
I
at,
do.
email. Unless
Oh,
it's,
I got one in the book, though.
unless it's, no, that's fair, I'm okay. So, okay, we'll move into municipal services. And I will address, if anyone wishes to leave, then you're more than welcome to leave. You don't have to stay till the end of the meeting. I'm just addressing to the gallery here. It's a long, long meeting, so. Municipal services. Pass it to the chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Municipal Services Committee met on Tuesday, November the 12th. Present were myself as chair, Councillor Hayward Broomfield, Deputy Mayor Alan Wallace, CAO Nadine McCauley, Superintendent of Water and Sewer Keith Pye, Superintendent of Public Works Randy Chambers, and Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy, who took the minutes. I believe the mayor also attended an ex officio role, and regrets from Director of Engineering Randy Dillon. The meeting was called to order at 4:43 p.m. The agenda was approved and presented with no additions or changes. There were no delegations present at the meeting. We reviewed the minutes from previous meeting. No errors or omissions were noted. All action items from the previous meeting were received and updates were provided. Under new business, the committee discussed applying for funding from the Multi-Materials Stewardship Board's Waste Diversion Fund to support the Happy Valley Goose Bay Recycling Group's efforts. During the meeting, I, as chair, had committed to working with the group to complete an application before the deadline, which was November the 15th, 3 days after the meeting. However, after further discussions with some of the group's members, it was decided that more time was needed to properly prepare the application. And as a result, we agreed to apply during the next funding cycle
Arrange a
instead.
date with them. Just, excuse me for 1 second. Can you arrange a date with them before they leave? To meet? No, can you arrange a date? Pardon me?
I gotta do a bit of research.
Yeah, but can you arrange, just let them know that?
Next week,
Please?
we'll arrange a meeting.
Okay,
Sometime next week,
all
Brad.
right. Did someone want to let them know that before they leave?
I think
Please?
it's too late.
Yes, thank you. All right, sorry, continue, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
In other business, CAO Macaulay suggested organizing a poster competition centered around the themes of reducing, reusing, and recycling. A small prize will be awarded to the winner, and a public service announcement will be created to promote the competition and provide additional details. I'm not sure if that's started yet. She's not here to answer that, and I'm not sure if the community development manager might know a little bit about that. No? Also, the committee has 2 recommendations that I'll put forward to council for consideration. The first concerns the D42 pump house, which is an important part of infrastructure in the community and is in need of significant upgrades. The second recommendation pertains to the upgrades required for the sewage lift stations, again critical town infrastructure. There being no further business, the meeting adjourned at 5:19 p.m. The next committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December the 10th at 4:45. With that, I move that council approve the Municipal Services Committee report as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. Moved by Councillor Pomeroy that we do accept the Municipal Services Committee as presented, seconded by Councillor Brumfield. Discussion? Councillor Compton House?
Councillor Pomeroy, I'm just wondering, did you discuss the electric bus in your municipal service meeting?
No, it didn't come up in our meeting.
So we know it's in the depot, but we don't know anything else?
I have nothing, there was no update, nothing given. I believe the bus probably arrived after our meeting?
November 12th, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any further discussion on the report? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Passed. 2 recommendations, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. D42 pump house upgrade. Be it resolved that the town of Happy Valley Goose Bay approves a project amendment request for the project completion timeline to be submitted to the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure in relation to the D42 pump house upgrades project.
Okay, it is moved by Councillor Pomeroy and Municipal Services that we approve a project amendment request to be submitted to TNI in relation to D42 pump house upgrade project. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Wallace. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Passed. Next one, sir?
The Municipal Services Committee recommends that a contract for the construction of sewage lift station upgrades project number 17-GI22-0000 be awarded to Western Pumps Services in the amount of $1,008,896.38.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Pomeroy and Municipal Services that we recommend a contract recommend that a contract for construction sewer lift station upgrades, project number 17-GI-22-0000, be awarded to Western Pumps in the amount of $1,008,896.38. Seconded by
I'll second that.
Deputy Mayor Wallace. Discussion? All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Passed. I saw your hand go up before you said it, Councillor Compton. All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't have PS on my emailed one, but we did have PS.
Yeah.
So I will pass the floor to the PS committee chair.
Thank you, Mayor. The Protective Service Committee met on Wednesday, November the 13th at 4:30. Present was myself as chair, Councillor Bert Pomeroy, Councillor Denise Rumble, Mayor George Andrews, CAO Nadine McCauley, Director of Protective Services Brad Butler, and Executive Assistant Kathy Eddy. Meeting was called to order at 4:38. Approved the agenda. There were no delegations. We reviewed previous minutes and action items, no errors or omissions. Action items were reviewed and updated. Some of the action items include the moving violations, which we know now it's with the Justice Department. Still not approved, so we're hopeful that this will happen in the very near future. The process of an MOU with 5 Wing, we have our, with respect to animal control services. We have our animal control officer and municipal enforcement officer going out for some training next week, first week of December. So hopefully we can get that MOU, discussion started again in the new year. We talked about some dilapidated buildings around town. Enforcement is still working on that list. Some other business we talked about was the Garda contract, which I believe is gonna be extended till December the 31st, as public safety was discussed in our meeting, and, there's still quite a few, transients and, causing havoc in the community, with regards to public safety, around residences and businesses and so on. So Garda will be extended for another month. We talked about a town meeting that was being held on November the 19th at the College of North Atlantic regarding the Police Transformation Working Group. Of course, that meeting happened last week. Our next meeting is scheduled for the committee of the whole on December the 10th, so I ask that you please accept my report.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Compton-Hobbs that we accept the excuse me, Protective Services Committee report as presented. Seconded by? Okay, I'll go with Councillor Brumfield that time. Any discussion? Okay, none being heard. All those in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Contrary-minded? Passed. Do you have any recommendations?
I
No?
don't.
None from you. All right, excellent. Okay, there's his reports. Okay, so move into approval of checks now. I will pass the floor to you, sir. Councillor Brumfield.
Okay, we ready for that one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please, yep.
The FAP committee recommends council to approve checks totaling $555,854.95 for the month of November 2024.
Okay, moved by Councillor Brumfield and the FAP committee that we approve checks in the amount of $555,854.95. Seconded by? Councillor Rumbold. Discussion? Councillor Pomeroy?
Yes, Worship, I'm just trying to, if the acting town clerk can look up check number 28298. I'm just wondering what that expenditure is for.
28298?
Yeah. It's toward the end.
I can't speak for certain, but I think that this is something that we approved in protective
A sign.
services.
A sign
No, multiple
for
signs.
Sally
$53,000.
Yeah,
Dollar
I
rental?
think, but
Yeah.
now Kathy will verify, but I'm,
It was
50.
It was 3 signs for the school zones, if that's what it is.
4 signs?
yeah, is that, does that sound right to you?
And that
Chief
was a
Butler?
budgeted item?
We,
$13,000
we approved it at the
per
last
sign?
meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
from
we
the
were levying
public safety.
Speed sign,
Oh, okay, okay, all right,
they use it from the money.
okay, I
It
got
was
it.
approved at our last
They
council
were-
meeting.
Yeah, that was approved. Was that taken from the $500,000?
Yes,
Yes.
public safety, it was approved last meeting.
11
Okay.
each.
Wow. Okay. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions on the checks? Okay, all those in favor indicate with aye. Contrary-minded? Passed. Councillors' forum. I'll do Councillor Rumble first this time.
You know I got all kinds of stuff, eh? Unfortunately, we've had some people exit, but I still see one. So I always like to start off with thank you to visitors to our gallery. We appreciate having people that take the time to come and sit and watch council proceedings. So very appreciative for you tonight. Also very appreciative for the delegates. We notice a lot of the time for somebody to come and stand up at that podium and speak is very intimidating. Not everybody likes to talk on and on like I do, and so I appreciate those people who come and put themselves up there to express their concerns. I'd like to talk a little bit about the weather because it ties into a couple of things. So we've had some wonderful mild weather, which meant that this year's Remembrance Day ceremonies were unheard of. I have never stood out on the field at our Legion before and not been almost froze to death. So it was absolutely wonderful to see that they had a good turnout and that the weather cooperated, and 444 Squadron did a fabulous flyover. It was a great ceremony for them. And I feel like the weather is contributing to things like that. It has also resulted in our municipal yard waste area being open for as long as possible. So that one just closed this week. I'd like to thank all citizens who used that responsibly, because that is having a place where you can take your leaves and your brush that you've cleared off of your property is great, and we can only maintain that if residents continue to use that responsibly. Today is November 26th, so 1 month from today, it will all be said and done. My favorite day of the year.
Oh, your birthday, is it?
December
Your birthday?
No. December 26th is my favorite day of the year because it's when you sit and you sigh and you have it all over and done with, but we know that we're gearing up to the busiest time of the year, and I think Councillor Broomfield and I often speak about traffic and traffic safety and being safe on the roads. So one thing that this weather has done is I saw somebody on a scooter yesterday. Not a snowmobile, a scooter. So it's getting dark really, really early, like 4:07 I think it was dark today. It's been a little bit rainy. Just be mindful to our citizens that because the weather is unseasonable, there are people that are out on the streets, and we need to be exercising a lot of care and caution when we're driving. We've had a lot of budget meetings as of late, and you will notice in our town announcements that there is another meeting scheduled for Thursday night where we will be discussing our budget. So thank you so much to our town staff who has put so much time and effort into our budget meetings. As always, you want to do everything, and we have to work within the constraints that we have possible. So a lot of hard work, a lot of discussion, but very thankful to council and staff who have attended and had their input. The Labrador North Chamber of Commerce had their Business Awards Gala very recently, and I don't want to name anybody by name because there were several businesses. It's just an honor to be, I think, even nominated. And then there were some that took home the prizes, but all in all, I've said it before, our small businesses are the lifeblood of our community, and as many of us are finding out right now, some online shopping is a little bit difficult right now, so this is the perfect opportunity to support those small businesses and, show them that we value them. We had a public safety meeting, a town hall style public safety meeting recently at the College of the North Atlantic. Unfortunately, we didn't have the turnout that I had hoped, but again, this is a thank you for me to say thank you to the residents that did attend. We had some great speakers with varying opinions, and I think it's important that everybody gets an opportunity to have their say. Our last town council meeting was October the 22nd. On October the 25th, the findings were released for the policing transformation study. This is Counselor's Forum, where I have the opportunity to say my personal feelings. And I would just like to say that myself, as a counselor, I took issue with the statement, municipal leaders have a pivotal role in providing leadership, such as communicating accurate information to citizens. There has been a growing perception among some community members that the situation may be more severe than it actually is, fueled in part by heightened emotions and the spread of misinformation. So myself, as a municipal official, municipal leader, however they worded it, I would like to think that my biggest priority is the citizens of Happy Valley Goose Bay and those who elected me to sit in this seat. And if somebody tells me, if one person tells me that they don't feel safe in our community, then yeah, that's the message that I'm gonna relay, because you can't diminish somebody's feelings or negate somebody's feelings. I know this is a complicated issue. I know that there are many facets and there's a lot that needs to be done, but I will sit here today and I will tell you that I took exception and was insulted by the statement that that kind of implied that municipal leaders were spreading false information. So I'm going to leave that at that, but again, we did give the opportunity to the citizens to have their say, and we are thankful for those that did turn out. My final statement is my sincerest condolences to the family of our former Fire Chief Carl Olford. Deepest respect for Mr. Olford. He was a wonderful man with a very approachable, happy-go-lucky demeanor. He loved his family, and that was very apparent in everything he did. And so we offer our condolences to them, and I'm quite proud of the way our local fire department supported him and his family in his passing. And on that sad note, that is it for me. Thank you very much.
Councillor Brumfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Following Councillor Rumble is, she likes to go on, so I'm keeping mine
Need a
nice and
chapter.
short. Yeah. I would like to send our condolences to the Olford family for, I knew Carl for a few years and I worked with him as well for a few years when he was our part-time fire chief then. He was a good man to work with, and like I say, condolences to the family. I would like to congratulate the RCMP. They did do our best, which is good. We're starting somewhere on this whole issue, and this is the way it starts, and this is the way hopefully we'll clean it up one arrest at a time. We're heading into winter now shortly, and we will be, well, we're almost winter here now, but it would be normal Christmas or normal winter, say. So I'd just like to remind people, when you get in our first snowfall, you got to adjust your driving, it's slippery and sliding and all that wonderful stuff. And our town staff in the office here, and we have been quite busy with our budget, so I'd like to congratulate them and thank them on working on that. And as Councilor Roman mentioned, we will be doing our budget on Thursday night, so there'll be more on that one on the update. Our bus has finally arrived. We'll see what happens, I guess. And other than that, I'd like to remind, or not remind, but just point out that Christmas is coming on. We do have a postal strike, and people are depending on that post office for a lot. Hopefully they can settle something on their own without government intervention. And thank everyone. That'll be it for me for tonight.
Thank you. I'll go down to the end of the table and Councillor Brumfield.
Yeah, I'm not going to say too much. I mean, there's a few things, like after our last meeting, I think the mayor had made a comment, and it was in the media about town audits. And, you know, it's an issue, I think that's an important issue that we need to raise. We just can't not raise it. And the audit's not being up to date. And I understand the frustration of many people about this issue, and I agree that it's a problem that got out of control, and it should never have gotten out of control. There's no excuse for it. The audit should have been completed on time, and this council is trying to correct that. And I also acknowledge that the previous council faced challenges completing the audits, including staffing issues and complications with auditors, particularly during COVID-19, but these are not permanent excuses by no means. But we're not alone in facing these audit challenges. Many municipalities have faced similar difficulties with audits in the last number of years, and as the president of MNL had indicated during a radio interview, we're not alone. And so the point that I'm saying is that, you know, it's we shouldn't be pointing fingers at past administrations or casting shadow on past councils for the work that they did. Instead, we should be acknowledging that we all face difficult circumstances, and working together is how we solve these problems. And under the Municipal Code of Conduct, which came up here tonight, we are held to certain ethical standards, one of which is to treat fellow council members, past and present, with respect. This includes respecting the work of previous councils and administrations, and continuously bashing councils or town staff goes against the spirit of this code of conduct. Because it's come up time and time again in meetings with council, oh, the audits weren't done, that was you guys' fault. Well, the code of conduct is there for a reason. I'll remind all the council that we should follow that code of conduct, and pointing fingers at previous administrations is not the way to get things done. As elected officials, we have a responsibility to set a positive example and work collaboratively with each other and with staff. And our role is to build trust with the public, and that can only happen if we stop the blame game and start focusing on constructive solutions. So I'll leave it at that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Councillor Compton House.
Okay, first I'd like to send condolences to Carl Olford's family. He was a very fine man. I don't know of anybody that ever said one bad word about Carl Olford. Well respected. 44 years as a volunteer firefighter and 16 years at fire chief. And again, just condolences to the family. He will be missed. Second, I'd just like to remind the community of the tree lighting coming up next week, December the 5th, here in front of Town Hall. Santa Claus Parade on Saturday, December the 7th, and of course the Winter Lights Contest. I want to just speak a second about Mike and Roxanne, who presented here as delegates tonight. We as a town council, we need to follow through on this. And if there's bylaws or if there's some kind of act or something, like, none of us would want to live in that situation. It's not sensible, it's not, it should never be. And as a town council, we need to figure this out if there's any way possible we can. So as chair of the Protective Services Committee, I will schedule a meeting with the committee and Director of Protective Services, Brad Butler, next week, so we can try to resolve this as best we can. Hopefully everyone's available next week. The town hall meeting, balanced opinions. There wasn't a large turnout. I expected more too. But with the police report, I'm certainly pleased that they're coming with 5 additional RCMP officers. And, you know, that drug bust, 17 people. There was a lot of drugs taken off our streets. And hopefully that's a start, because there's more out there, and hopefully they're going to continue these drug busts. I wanna thank Stephanie and Todd James for their service in Happy Valley Goose Bay. 27 years. They ran Hamilton Drugs and Stephanie's Gift Shop. They raised her children here. They contributed tremendously to this community. Time after time after time, I went into Hamilton Drugs looking for donations for different events throughout the community. And I know they've donated to many youth initiatives over the years. 27 years is a long time. They raised their children here. Their children moved on to university and now moved on in their lives. And Stephanie and Todd are moving on from Happy Valley Goose Bay. This week they're leaving. So I want to thank them on behalf of the town council, because they've certainly been pillars in this community, and they will be missed, there's no doubt. They've made a lot of friends over the years, and they will be missed in the community. Communication, I want to speak a little bit on communication. I talk about it a lot during our councilor forums. To me, communication is still lacking with this council, with the, with the town. I see a lot of inaccurate information out there, and I think it's just as simple if we could put something out to tell the truth. The electric bus, I saw that we paid $650,000 for it. I saw that we paid $800,000 for it, when that is not true, and I don't understand why the town cannot put the correct information out there to shut this gossip and rumors down. The town paid $68,000 was the share for the town to pay towards the electric bus, not 680 or 650. And it would be much simpler if we could communicate to the public the actual facts instead of, letting this spread even, out of control, and it's not true. So I'm a bit frustrated with communication. I'll just use the electric bus as an example. There's other things that we could be communicating that would shut down a lot of gossip in this community. I think that was it. Yep, that's,
Okay.
well, I talked about the tree lighting and everything. Yeah, that's it for me, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Winters?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to keep it really short because this is going on quite a bit. Sending condolences to the family and friends of both Hope Rose and former Chief Carl Olford. I'd like to thank everyone that attended and spoke at the Community Town Hall regarding the HVG Public Safety Report. All input is very important and will be taken into account. And I also like to reiterate what Councillor Rumble stated about the wording of some parts of that report, stating that miscommunication and heightened emotions were irrelevant in this community, and that's totally wrong. That's just a wrong statement. We stress to everybody that would listen our frustrations with public safety, and for this report to come out and say that heightened emotions and all that is not true. There were 82 people that put input into this report. I know council is part of those 82. I know there are some businesses part of those 82. But for the report to say what it did about heightened emotions and misconceptions is totally wrong. And I don't know what council can do to find out who said that and how it got into that report, but that is where I would like to see council direction with regards to that report, because that is false information. Heightened emotion, everybody knows what's going on in this community. And for a report of that stature, and coming from government on a timeline that it did, we were asked to come in at 8:30 and support this document that we never even read, and then for them to go ahead and produce this document at 2 o'clock with no input from council, no support from council, is just wrong. Again, like I said, I support Councillor Rumble in stating I'm a municipal official. I did not provide any misinformation. What I provided in those meetings was exactly what is taking place in this town. And I think every councillor at this table done the same. For that report to come out and say that there's misinformation, heightened emotions, and all what was misleading is wrong. And I think it's time we held somebody accountable as to who wrote that document and how it got released the way it did. That's everything. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor?
Well said, Councillor Winters. Thank you. Deepest sympathies to the families of Don Wells, Rose Hope, Regina Vickers, and Carl Oldford. Lost some dear friends this month, the last few weeks, and some real legends in our community. Thank you to staff for all you've done in preparations for the budget. Your hard work is appreciated. There'll be some long meetings and time put into that, so thank you. Thank you to those who came to the Town Hall Public Safety meeting last week. We heard directly from our residents, and that is crucial, and that is who we sit here and represent. As we sit all here today, that's who we represent. So the voices of our residents, hearing them was valuable. To do it again and to have more numbers, as we've all mentioned here today, would be great. It doesn't dissipate what we heard, and we need to pass that forward. Best of luck to the Mealy Mountain Collegiate Female Indoor Soccer Team as they make their way to provincials in Stephenville this weekend. We've said this time and time again, we have one high school in town, and to make provincials is great. Now they have to fundraise. So these kids are paying almost $1,000 each with days to go because there is no other way to get them there. So we really have to value the youth that are in our community. Congrats to all those who competed in the volleyball tournament last weekend. I know there's some going again to provincials the following weekend. The female volleyball team, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Next weekend, good luck to all the female hockey players as they compete here in town at the E.J. Broomfield Arena at the Steve Ramey tournament. So good luck, girls, and that is all I have this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and just to reiterate the thoughts about the town hall, I think it was good, given that it was a really cold, windy, rainy night. I think that we had some representation there from, there was a senior who made some representation, and I think it was balanced. But I think it was also clear to say that, to think that public safety is not an issue in our town now comes from residents. So, I mean, it was spoken there that, you know, people still have concerns and issues about public safety, and I think that's something that, you know, we didn't say. That came from residents themselves. I also have taken on multiple occasions, I guess, issue with the statement that Councillor Rumble read and that Councillor Winters has alluded to. Ironically enough, I guess last night there was some testimonies, I guess, from councillors and the mayor of another community in town of Mount Pearl, who were expressing, you know, the safety of people, their concerns, their policing, etc. I wonder, will they get the same email that, or that paragraph in a report that gets done to say that they're not showing leadership? Because that's exactly, in my opinion, what leadership is. We have been hearing it constantly for 3 years. This council, the majority of this council, has been dealing with this issue, and previous councils have been dealing with the issue as well. But we've been consistent on our messaging that we've spoken to anybody, as Councillor Winters alluded to, who right from the Premier's office down through multiple ministers who have come to our community, who we visited in St. John's, to our MHA, to, you know, everybody about our concerns about public safety. And all we were doing was putting across the message that we were hearing from our community. It's not what we live here, so it's not messages that we, you know, didn't hear, whether it was daytime, nighttime, text, message, phone calls that we're all getting. You can stop at the co-op or the post office or wherever and being, you know, talked to. Social media, you know, has been full of, you know, I'm hoping things that haven't been made up. But those safety concerns, and I mean police reports and things like that on the increase and the amount with the third busiest detachment in the entire province, you know, goes to show that yes, there was some issues and concern about public safety. So for, you know, to show that to say that we're lacking leadership, well, that's pretty subjective, and I think that our community speaks the other way. So the town hall, I think, proves that, you know, there are still concerns. The policing transformation report, yep, we absolutely welcome the 5 additional officers. We'd like 55, but, you know, we'll deal with what we get. Body cams, you know, have been talked about a long time, but if that enhances the safety in our community of officers or general public, absolutely welcome that as well. You know, hats off to the police in terms of the drug bust that happened, a very large drug bust and a very dangerous drug. First time I think it was in the province, nitrazine. And when something's 25 more times potent than fentanyl, I think that's serious. So it's a good job in terms of that. So from that perspective, you know, we'll continue to represent for the next 9 months or whatever. We'll continue to represent and provide leadership and represent our community as we need to, not as somebody else thinks we should. Town hall-wise, that's all I'm going to say on that one. Council will, over the next little while, get the information presented to us that was taken in notes in it, and we'll formulate where we go from here. The other evening, we finally got the chance to dedicate Clyde's room in the arena, and members of Clyde Williams, a former employee, were there. His family was there, and some representatives from council, and friends of his family, and co-workers, and that was a nice evening, and a very fitting, I guess, closure to that whole elongated process of dedicating that room, and I want to thank staff for that. I was approached today about an article with CBC in terms of metal in the dump, and we no longer accept metal in our dump, simply put because it's, and there was a public service announcement out about it back in earlier part, I guess, of the month, just because it's taking up too much space. But have been told that NewCo is working the same hours as we work, and they will gladly accept the metal. And it's just from a space perspective, because we're running out of space down there. And I guess as plans are being put in place as to what we do moving forward with the dump. For December, we're going to try something new with council. It's going to be, well, not new, I guess, but newer for this council. Yeah, we're going to do a committee of the whole meeting, which means all the committees will meet, because it is my understanding in January that all committee meetings will be open to the public. There'll be no closed committee meetings. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out and how that comes into to fruition. So I'd be interested to see what happens in terms of the other communities that are expressing concern and safety. Just want to scoot back to a comment that was made by Councillor Pomeroy. At the end of the day, audits are the responsibility of the 7 people that sit around this table. And it's not my place to speak as to why things weren't done, just that things weren't done. They put the town, because audits weren't done, and yes, there are various communities that have been in similar situations. Received a note today, actually, that because we were late, we will not be getting the municipal operating grant that we had written the minister to ask if we could get it. October's was paid, but from a previous thing, it was a nice letter, but basically told us that because we were late, too bad, councils know, but unfortunately we won't be getting that one back. And that came from Mr. Hagee, and I just received it this afternoon. So that's disappointing. I'm not sure where all that money goes through communities that don't meet those deadlines, because there are auditor troubles and yes, staff troubles and that. So like I say, the responsibility of audits sit with the 7 people that sit around this table, and if audits aren't done, it rests with us. I will champion Councillor Brumfield. I think one of the first meetings he started here, ever since we've been here, he brought audits up, audits, and I'm hoping to say that before we leave, or some of us leave, before that happens, that we'll have them all current. Anyway, that's the responsibility of council sitting around the table. So for whatever reason, or whatever the reasons that certain audits weren't done, well, that's for those that were involved to answer. And the bus, we did put out information on the bus. We did issue a public statement. We did issue what the bus cost and what funding we were getting, and et cetera. Social media is a very ugly place. It's very hard to, you can counter what you want, but once the messaging gets there, there's those that will take that and run with it. There's not much you can do once messaging gets out and people start talking, but we've put out through our channels, the official channels, according to policy, what the information is. If we can't, with all due respect, I let you speak, so I would let you ask me, give me the same courtesy. We've put out the information, and yes, we all read everybody's an expert posting, but in actual fact, what was the amount we spent, our contribution to the bus?
With the anticipated contribution from
Yep.
the provincial government,
Yep.
our contribution will be $43,000.
Right. So the purchase of that project will be $43,000. And that's not the first time that number's been mentioned with the money from the province and Newfoundland Labrador Hydro.
That's what he got in his notes.
So, again, whose notes?
In his
so-
speech coming
so-
Thursday, 68,000, so there's miscommunication
So,
even with us.
so if we want to discuss that, that's fine. But at the end of the day, like I say, the amount of money that is there and how we message more accurately and things like that, we could put that out 50 times, and that same situation would happen. And it doesn't matter whether it's the street plowing or dump hours or whatever. We try our best to put it through whatever channels we can. And outside of that, thank staff and council for their participation in the budget. I missed the last meeting. I was in Labrador City for work, and I will miss Thursday night's meeting because I'm going to St. John's tomorrow morning. But I will join by phone. So, outside of that, any staff have anything you want to bring to council? To the floor?
I just wanted to acknowledge that we've finally received
Oh.
that, saw that, recognizing the 13th council.
Oh, nice.
It was installed yesterday, and you're now officially on the board.
We're on the board again. Yeah. Okay. From you, sir? Nothing? You're good to go? And again, I don't want to be legal, but I don't think we ever had a part-time fire chief. I think we always had a full-time one when Mr. Wolford was here, because there was a lot of times he'd be here all the time. But Brad, for you and your department, like, hats off. What you guys did for your fallen teammate was just moving, and it's good to show, and it just shows the level that we have, the professionalism that we have here at Fire Hall. So, thank you for that. Outside of that, folks, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Made by Councillor Compton-Howe, seconded by Councillor Rundle. Discussion. All those in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.